Hello again, and welcome to another installment of, let's see if I remember this control or not, comics you probably aren't reading but should be. I'm your host, Jason from Galactic Quest in Buford and Lawrenceville, Georgia, right here in Gwinnett County. We're still essentially closed, or I should say non-essentially closed, for the time being. We are still doing curbside mail order services, and our governor, in his infinite wisdom, has determined that many businesses may return to serving the public as normal here in the next few days, like within the next 2 weeks. I'm not sure where Comic Shop is going to fall on that list, though I find it strange that some of our competitors have not had to close at all. So it feels kind of shady there. In particular, one that's run by a large corporation just down the road from us sells the same product as we do. They get to stay open because they're classified as someone who sells educational materials. We sell educational things. We sell everything that they sell. The only thing that store doesn't, that store sells that we don't, is music and DVDs. For the most part, as far as major product categories go. But we sell everything they sell, including books for young readers. That counts as educational. So why are they open and we're not? That seems wrong. They're in the same county and everything. Anyway, I found that out yesterday and I thought that was weird. Also found out one of our competitors in the city up in a northern suburb has never closed. And I guess it's county to county. That store is in a different county, so I don't know what their regulations are. But it seems like if any comic shop can stay open during this craziness, then ours should be able to. I'm off topic. Let me pardon myself for doing that little aside and get on to the matter at hand. What comic am I talking about this week? That would be the excuse me, I'm a couple off here. I don't know how that happened. Anyway, these are all new features I'm learning, so bear with me there. The Hill House Comics. This is not just one, but a assembly of comics from DC under their black label. This is being written in part and curated in general by Joe Hill. That's why it's called Hill House. They started this with a little teaser, which is what I'm showing you here on the screen right now. A sampler issue that had pages from the first 6 titles, and it had the promise on the back: "We aim to shock the senses and soak the page in red for your pleasure." To a certain degree, they succeed there. It's overall pretty creepy, some of the storylines, and pretty good overall. I really have enjoyed all these books, even the ones that are considered to be the weaker of the selection. But let's get into what they are. The first that came out, and the one written by Joe Hill, was Basket Full of Heads. Overall, really tight. I should mention also, these came with options on cover. They had variants. I went with the A cover on all of them for a specific reason, though I thought the variant art in general has been really strong. In particular, there's a few from Basket Full of Heads, Plunge, and also Low Woods that have been art-wise very strong variant covers. But for the series in general, I collected the A covers for the logos, and I'll talk about the logos in a little bit. But anyway, Basket Full of Heads is a story about a girl and her boyfriend who work on an island, Brody Island. And you'll notice in here that a lot of Stephen King universe stuff is referenced. If you're a Stephen King fan, you probably already know that Joe Hill is the son of Stephen King. He's learned a lot from his master sensei father, and also has borrowed, with permission, I'm sure, many elements of Stephen King's greater universe. In a certain way, Joe Hill is tying a lot of those places together as being connected in some way or another in these comics, and also I think in some of the novels that he writes himself. But there's a specific reference here to Shawshank Prison in this book, where they have a scenario. The girl is dating a guy who is working as a summer officer for the local chief of police, and he's basically a beach patroller. He drives a little dune buggy around, making sure there's nobody breaking the law on the beach. Summer job for this kid. They're both college age students, and a situation arises just at the end of summer. He's about to be able to leave, go back to school. They're finally going to be together because they've been kind of separated all summer while he's been working, and she's been back at wherever town they come from. And just as he's about to depart the island for fall term, there's a situation. There's a prison transport bus that some prisoners stage an escape from, and so they've got this manhunt going on, looking for these prisoners, and it all kicks off into high gear when the prisoners manage to break into the chief of police's house, and nobody knows what they're after, but they're after some piece of evidence or something like that. You would think, not exactly something of value, but something they want from the chief's house, and that happens to be where the girl and her boyfriend are holed up. The chief has sent them there to kind of keep watch on the place, just in case somebody attacks the house. Well, lo and behold, somebody does attack the house. There's 2 or 3 of these thugs that have made it up there. There's 4 escapees altogether, I think it was. Anyway, they take off with the boyfriend, and the girl is hiding in a laundry hamper. She hears all this stuff happening, and she waits forever. She's in that hamper forever. She just finally, it's all quiet. There's nobody, no action going on outside. So she leaves her hiding place and is going through the house, and she is surprised by someone, one of the 4 who was hanging back to see where she was. He was convinced that there was somebody else in the house, so he just kind of hung around. And so he's going to have his way with her. He's a pretty nasty character. And she's trying to find a way to defend herself. And there's only one thing that she has access to defend herself that she can find where she is. And it happens to be an axe that is in this collection of old Norse artifacts that the chief of police's wife has gifted him over the years. He's kind of into his genealogy, and so he likes to collect and study these historical things. So there's this cool axe in the case. So as it turns out, there's something interesting and specifically horrendous about this axe. And so when she uses it to defend herself, it is really, really, really efficient at... What would you guess that it would be efficient at doing? Cutting folks' heads off. And so this guy that attacks her, she ends up just killing him pretty bad. I'm not going to tell you much more than that. That's the kind of lead in. And if you see over here on the left side of the screen, there is a girl looking distressed. That is the scene where she's just realized that people are in the house. But anyway, that isn't the end of the story, but that's where it kind of kicks off. Definitely worth a read. I should also mention, you see in the middle of this, or on each of these issues, there's a little blurb about a story called Sea Dogs. One of the interesting and unique things about, well, I guess it's not unique, but you don't see it that often anymore. There is a sub-story being told throughout every issue in the Hill House release. That's every title, every issue. It's got a little story chapter segment in the back of the issue that is a story called Sea Dogs, and it's a classical nautical horror kind of tale in a way. That story appears in every single one of these issues, and it connects them all together. And so it basically follows publication order. So I mean, I guess it's a way they thought of to sell a lot of issues. If people really like Sea Dogs, they'd have to buy them all up. So I'm not sure what they'll do with that in the future. Maybe a trade paperback with Sea Dogs all contained in one volume. But I thought that was a nice little feature. And another thing is you'll find that even Sea Dogs itself is referenced in one of the other comics as a movie on the marquee of a movie theater. You just see it in the background that the theater is playing Sea Dogs. So he's threaded a lot of this stuff together in an interesting way, it seems to me. And of course, everything hasn't been spelled out, so I don't know. This one was originally slated for 6 issues, and you can see 6 issues have been released, though it does not conclude in issue 6. There's more story to be told, so I'm hopeful that Joe Hill's going to keep on publishing this book, maybe another series of it in the future. Moving right along. Let's see if my slideshow continues to work. The next is Dollhouse Family. This was the second series in the group from Hill House that came out. This was really cool, but this infuriated me for a professional creative reason. And that is this writer has had an idea very similar to one that I have been working on, and he has put it in print. And if you're a creative person and have ever had that happen to you, you can understand that is an infuriating thing to see. But it's not going to deter me because it's different enough from my idea. It's not that big a deal, but I was just like, I can't believe somebody else thought of something like this. I'm not going to tell you what it was because, man, anyway, that's an aside again. It doesn't matter because it was a great idea. But no matter who wrote it, somebody wrote it. It's cool. This story is wild. It takes place essentially in 3 distinct time periods. One is the very far background, kind of the originator of what's going on with this kind of mysterious object, which is a dollhouse. There is a dollhouse with strange properties, and there's a backstory to it, of course, and then there is the introduction of the main character who starts off in the story as a young girl who inherits this dollhouse from an obscure relative. And it's the only thing in the bequeathal. Just, hey, here's a dollhouse. I want another kid to have it, and I think you'll appreciate it. So it skips her mother, goes straight to the daughter, and then the story then follows the girl's life into adulthood. They have scenes in her childhood, but then for the most part, it's taking place when she has grown up. So there are the 3 time periods. So the gist of it is, the woman has a daughter of her own, and the house is an entity. I guess that's the way to say it. I don't think I'm spoiling anything because part of the story is how it comes into being and what it wants, and so it's trying to get what it wants out of this girl, and the girl is refusing to grant the house what it wants. And so the house begins to manipulate things in order to force this woman to do as it wishes. And so far it's pretty creepy, pretty good. And it's got a lot of familiar, other than the idea that I said that was similar to one of mine. It has a lot of familiar things from horror stories that you might recognize, but it doesn't do it in a way that's tropey. It's not a cliche. It's like seemingly connecting these phenomena. But the most recent thing I saw, and again, another coincidence maybe, or another piece of influence, but if you've read or seen Lock and Key, This has some very familiar elements to Lock and Key, which is Joe Hill property. So keep an eye out for those things, see if you notice those. But again, definitely worth a read. I really enjoyed it. Next up is The Low, Low Woods. Unfortunately, I mean, I liked this book. I'm not saying I don't like this book, but it is probably the weaker of the group. And I don't know why, because that's not a negative. I'm not saying it's a bad book. Like I said, it's a good book. I enjoyed it. But it has some elements in it that don't seem to be worth telling, they're just side stories that aren't relevant to anything, at least at this time. And we're 4 issues in. And it starts off being, I mean, the two girls there on the cover of the first issue are buddies. They are both, I think they're attracted to each other in a way, but they also aren't romantically entangled. I think the one girl would like it to be that way, but the other girl seems to be more attracted to the flashier, more beautiful, stereotypically beautiful girls. So she's kind of after this one girl at school, and involved with her intimately, while the other friend is just kind of she's bearing witness. But they have this connection on such a level that the experiences of one kind of resonate with the other, and so it's an interesting relationship. And so it starts off in a vague way, and that's part of the reason why the slowness of the progression. It starts off with a mystery that the characters don't know anything about, and the audience is not given any kind of clue about it. So you're experiencing what the heck is going on alongside the characters, rather than having the dramatic irony present of you being aware of what happened to them. They were just sitting in a movie theater, and all of a sudden they wake up and it's later, the movie's over, they have this gap, this lost time experience, and they know something happened to them, but they don't know what. For example, there was like mud or some goo on the one person's shoe, and they're like, where the heck did this come from? Like, I've obviously left the movie theater during the movie, and I have no awareness of what I did or where I went. So that kind of thing's going on. And then there's the town itself is a strange place. It's a mining town, like a coal community, that has fallen on kind of difficult times, partly because of the shift of the industry, but also because of a weird disaster that happened at some point in the town's past, where there was an underground fire that just rages on and on. They can't quench it. It's burning underground, and it's causing all kinds of stuff to happen to people. There's a lot of people that I think got trapped in the mines and died, and there's people that were negatively influenced by, I say influenced, negatively affected, like they got cancer and stuff, and other diseases, lung diseases related to toxic fumes and whatever is happening underground. But something keeps the town from being totally abandoned. And then there's kind of supernaturally stuff happening, like these zombie dudes that kind of pop out of the woods, or they come up out of the crevices, because of the woods, the low woods, are full of these areas where the mine shafts are exposed, or at least these big breaches in the ground are exposed, and there's like just a chasm down there where there's molten whatever at the base of it, and there's these zombie creatures to show up. They have no skin, they're just musculature, and there also is a very strange creature, which, let's see if I can remember what to do here. Show hide. Oh no, I don't remember my commands. There we go. See that thing on the right? It's a strange, like a deer or an elk or whatever. Probably a deer, but it's humanoid. You see that it has like a human arm and a kind of a human head with antlers, and it's pretty freaky. And it does stuff that I won't tell you about because you need to read it. So there's monsters and there's strange beings out there, and then there's this lost time, and to top it all off, there's some sort of witchcraft going on. The two girls, when they're really kind of up against it, they go and consult this witch that lives in their town, and the witch is strange. She's ancient, obviously very old, but she appears to be a little kid. Really interesting stuff. And I still don't know. We read 4 issues. Things have happened. I've understood some things. Don't understand other things. And I'm not going to talk about 2 of the details because there's a big reveal. If I talk about that detail, it will spoil a reveal. So I don't want to get into that. But you'll see there's some oddities happening that are pretty wild. Anyway, next up, what's next? Daphne Byrne. This is probably the next to the weakest. I have enjoyed this book, but I don't know what to make of it yet. I don't know who or what some of the characters are. You would look at this first cover and would think maybe there's vampirism going on. But this is a girl who is kind of awkward, and she's not ugly, but she's kind of on the homely and odd side. And she's not well received by her peers because it is known that her family is not well to do. They've fallen on hard times after the death of her father, so her mother has lost status and income as a result. So she is at this fancy boarding school type of place, but she's there like on scholarship or charity or something, so they make fun of her for that. And she's weird on top of that. She has odd interests for a girl in her era, which would include things like scientific inquiry and things like that. So she's not a ladylike. She's more of a rogue character in her society. And this takes place, I want to say it's Victorian era, but I can't remember. But anyway, it's a kind of a gothic type of presentation. And it's in the age of spiritualism. So you see some spiritualism happening. One of the instances is a scammer. Of course, most spiritualists are scammers. But this one is particularly it seems like she's some sort of, she's running a con on Daphne's mother with the apparent objective of convincing her to marry her son or some associate of hers, who is presenting himself as a widowed gentleman, but he's really just some kind of scumbag, thinking that he's going to marry into society on false pretenses, I guess, because they must believe that she's got wealth. But the Byrne family really doesn't have wealth. There must have been like an inheritance problem, or they've spent all their money, or there just wasn't that much to pass along, whatever. So that's the situation. In the midst of all this spiritualism, Daphne encounters real spiritual entities. So the mother is dealing with these fakes, saying that, oh, we're talking to your dead father, blah, 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 manipulating her mother. On the other hand, Daphne is encountering some serious spooks, and they are beginning to infest her psyche and take over her life in a way. And it's got that dark and creepy vibe, and it's got the typical period piece type of feel. But we're only 3 issues in, so I don't really know what to make of it altogether. But in general, pretty solid if you like that kind of thing. And again, I don't know enough about the storyline to really explain who this character is that has begun sinking his claws into Daphne. What the nature of him is, if he's actually a vampire or if he's actually a demon or what. But it's worth continuing just to find out. Next up, Plunge. I anticipated at the beginning that this would be my least favorite of these books, but in fact it is my most favorite. This was very well written, and the art is also extremely good. I didn't do interior shots because there's so much to talk about just talking about the books. but the character renderings are great. The action scenes are great. The writing is funny. Characters have great chemistry. All around cool story, bro. And this is, obviously about something that happens at sea. The crew that you meet at first is hired by, I guess it's the government, to go recover a sunken ship that has been missing since the 80s or something like that. And they didn't know what in the heck happened to it, but all of a sudden its signal beacon started working. And so they knew where it was, like its emergency beacon, just all out of the blue, started working. And they're like, well, now we know where the ship is, so we can go salvage it. So they hired this independent crew to go get it. And they realized soon that they've been hired because it's a dangerous mission, and nobody in the government wants to touch it. And they also start to realize why or how this beacon was set off. Somehow the ship shifted its position, and its solar arrays aligned themselves finally with sunlight, so it could power this emergency beacon. So it's been directed away from natural light, so it could never be powered up. So now that this ship is shifted somehow, it catches some light and powers up this beacon, and so that's how it started off. But no one has yet asked the question of, wait a minute, what shifted this boat in the bottom of the ocean or whatever? So there's a lot of things to consider, and then they go on this mission, and crazy things almost immediately begin to happen, and that includes the destruction of their ship. I shouldn't have told you that, but too late. I said it. So they're stranded on this weird place that they went after something causes that to happen, and it was action-packed, a lot of fun, funny to read, good art. I can't wait to see the next issue, whenever the heck that's going to be. Oh, by the way, general good rumor, new comics might be shipping soon, or sooner than anticipated. So keep your eyes peeled for news about that. So that's what I have about these books. I do want to talk about the logos. One of the reasons why I really appreciated the production of this series is because each one of these logos is high concept, typographical. They have not just put, a cool looking font and left it at that. They've designed each of these logos to mimic or echo the content. So you see the central focus of the Basket Full of Heads storyline is the axe, and you see in the letter A the shape of the axe head, or at least the shape of an axe head. That's not exactly the way the item looks in the story, but it gets the point across. And then it's got kind of a blood spattered fingerprinty look to it. So it communicates what the story is all about in the shape of the typography. Daphne Byrne. Why are these in this order? I don't know. Daphne Byrne has that kind of a gothic, otherworldly look to it, so it echoes what's going on in the storyline. Dollhouse Family. It's got the picket fence look with the little house. If you read the story, you appreciate these even more because it just echoes exactly what the essence of the comic book. Low Woods. You got the old horror movie looking poster look to it, but it's got the creepy eyes in the woods looking back at you from the logo. Plunge, also something to do with something that has a big tentacle, maybe. And they've worked it right in. It comes through the E, goes around the G. Perfect. It's just really high quality stuff. All around high concept stuff. Very much worth the $3.99. So glad that DC did this. It's one of the best single product lines from DC right now. Definitely Black Label worthy. It is for mature readers, so do be advised this ain't for cheering. It has language and violence in it, and a bit of sexuality as well. So don't be letting kids read this, but if you are looking for something new and different from a major publisher, you can't go wrong with Hill House Comics. I do appreciate you joining me today. And again, my name is Jason from Galactic Quest, and I will see you guys next time.